empty and open to receive. May I be full and open to receive the light. May I be full and open to receive. May I be empty and open to receive the light. May I be empty and open to receive. May I be full and open to receive the light. May I be full and open to receive. May I be empty and open to receive the light. May I be empty and open to receive. May I be full and open to receive the light. May I be full and open to receive. May I be empty and open to receive the light. May I be empty and open to receive. May I be full and open to receive the light. May I be full and to receive.
No sé cómo se hace para que no se me ve.
Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. That was Batya Levine. You should check out their album. It's really awesome. I'm Sarah Eichler. I am the Director of Programming here at Jewish Veg, and we are a national nonprofit that educates and builds community to encourage plant-based lifestyles through celebrations and conversations about Jewish values. And tonight we are pre-celebrating Shavuot by having a conversation about Jewish values. So we're going to get started in just a moment, but I do have a few brief housekeeping notes to get through, so please bear with me. First of all, the automated live captioning is running. If you are having any trouble accessing that, please reach out to any of our Jewish Veg staff. You will know us by the star in front of our name and the Jewish Veg at the end of our name. Same thing for tech issues. If you have any tech problems, any member of our staff will be happy to help. Again, star in front of our name, Jewish Veg at the end of our name. That's how you know you got one of us. We are going to ask you, for the sake of time, we have a lot of content to cover tonight. If you could please remain on mute while not actively speaking. There will be time for question and answers at the end of our presentations tonight. But until then, if you could please stay muted because we want to make sure we do have that time. That's going to really help us. However, we encourage you to use the chat. Any comments, questions, thoughts, and introductions, if you want to put in there your name, where you're joining us from, and your favorite vegan Shavuot treat. And our amazing Lisa Appelberg will be running the chat tonight, except when she's talking, and then it will be me. But we do encourage you to use that chat. Okay, and when we get to the question and answer period, we're going to do something a little different tonight. So we're going to try this out. On Zoom, you may be familiar with the electronic raise hand function. If you're not, don't worry, I'm about to explain it. If you're on your computer, at the bottom of your Zoom window, you're going to see a little smiley face that says reactions. If you click on that, at the bottom of the little thing that pops up, there's a bar that says raise hand. Don't click it yet. If you're on your phone or tablet, tap your screen. That same little smiley face should be there. Tap that, and for you, at the top of your that little bar that pops up, there's going to be a raise hand. So I'm going to ask you to practice. Raise your hand electronically if you, before receiving the invite to this event, had never heard of Shavuot. Raise your electronic hand. Okay, so either everyone knew about Shavuot or no one's figured out the raise hand function. We'll find out. Raise your electronic hand. Oh, thank you. Raise your electronic hand if you have heard of Shavuot for the first time in the last few years. Raise your electronic hand now. All right. Thank you. I see a few people. And then lower your hand, which is part 2 of this process. Awesome. Thank you. And raise your electronic hand if you have known about Shavuot forever and this is nothing new. Okay, a lot of people for that one. All right, and go ahead and lower your hand, please. And finally, if you have yet to raise your hand, please raise your hand now. And you can go ahead and lower it. Secret fourth thing, people. All right, thank you so much. So that is how we're going to do the question and answers tonight. That's going to show me who raised their hand in what order. So that will be really helpful. And now that I know you can do it, that's what we're going to do. You can also at that time put questions in chat and I'll be looking out for that. But let's talk about Shavuot. I gotta say, there were more of you than I expected for whom Shavuot is nothing new, because in the American Jewish community, Shavuot's not really all that well known, which is weird because it's one of the 3 big harvest festivals that we celebrate in Torah. In fact, it's one of the Shalosh Regalim, which are known as the pilgrimage festivals, when our ancestors in the biblical land of Israel would bring the first of the harvest to the temple. In other words, Shavuot is one of 3 major Jewish festivals where we are celebrating plant foods. That's what this holiday is. It's a celebration of the harvest of wheat, which is, again, as one of the 3 major harvest festivals. The first, depending on where you start the year, was Passover, which we just passed, and that was the start of the barley harvest. We come now to Shavuot, 49 days later, which is the start of the wheat harvest. And then Sukkot, in the fall, we get a lot of other plant foods, and that's the start of those harvests. Altogether, these harvests and the foods that we bring as offerings to the temple, they constitute something called the Shevat HaMinim, the 7 species. So those are barley, like at Passover, wheat, like at Shavuot, olives, figs, grapes, dates, pomegranates, 7 species, all plant foods. In Torah, when we are told about the biblical land of Israel, the land that we are going into, why it's such a great land, there's a lot of water, and there are these 7 plant foods that form the basis and the foundation of what Jewish people eat, plants. That's what we're celebrating tonight and on actual Shavuot in a couple days. And also, Shavuot is a commemoration of another major special thing in Judaism, receiving the Torah. At Passover, about 50 days ago, we exited Egypt and we left oppression and came into freedom. But freedom is a little bit chaotic sometimes. We're out in the desert wandering around. We don't know where we are. We don't know what we're doing. And what happens? We come to a mountain, and at the mountain, Moshe ascends and receives Torah and brings it to the people. The word Torah means teaching. What we receive is the gift of wisdom, the gift of teaching, and the gift of learning. And that is the gift that we want to offer to you tonight. There is no better time than Shavuot, celebration of plant foods, celebration of Torah and wisdom, to talk about how plant-based eating is a major part of Torah and Jewish tradition. So what we're going to do tonight, we are going to talk about how veganism and Judaism intersect very deliberately over and over again throughout Jewish text and thought. I see a question to repeat 7 plant foods. So those are barley, wheat, pomegranates, dates, figs, olives, grapes. You can find those in Deuteronomy 8:8. I'll put that in the chat in a moment. So we're going to start with our executive director, Jeffrey Spitz-Cohen, is going to talk to us about Torah and animals. Lisa Apfelberg will talk to us about environmentalism and eco-consciousness. Jody is going to talk to us, Jody Graber, I should give last names for everybody, is going to talk to us about health and nutrition. And our own Liz Madsen is going to demonstrate a vegan cheesecake dip recipe, because what is Shavuot without cheesecake? And if anybody was just confused by that. So there's a thing about Shavuot and dairy. Don't ask me why, because literally you can Google it. There are at least 50 different reasons that are given as to why Shavuot and dairy became a thing. And the truth is nobody knows. There are some people who are going to be very convincingly authoritative about this is why Shavuot and dairy. And the thing is, it could be any one of those 50 explanations. There's really not one reason. Nobody knows. It just became a thing. But the thing is, you can have cheesecake, and you can have cheese, and you can have ice cream, and you can have milk. And you can do it consciously and intentionally and ethically by using plant foods to make those exact same foods. And Liz is going to show you how to do that tonight. So we're going to get started, and I'm going to pass now to Jeff, our executive director, to teach us about Torah and animals.
There, and I think we all agree we're very fortunate that Sarah, our program director, is a rabbinic student, as you could probably tell. So, if you'll permit me, I'm going to share my screen and go up a study sheet, a text study sheet. So in the limited time I have, I cannot possibly cover this subject completely because, believe it or not, in the Torah, our Torah says more about how we treat animals than it does about how we treat children. So I'm going to hit some of the highlights, but the good news is this. This source sheet that we're looking at will be sent to you, and all you need to do is fill out the post-event survey, which will take about 1 minute. So don't worry if we're going to go pretty fast. So if there's just one thing we take away tonight, it should be this. From Genesis 1:26. The infamous dominion verse, which is, I think I can say with confidence, is the most misinterpreted word in the entire Torah. Dominion does not give us license to treat animals any way we would like. On the contrary, the word in Hebrew is yerdu. And yerdu connotes kingship in the biblical sense. And a king in the Torah is not a tyrant, is not a despot. A king needs to take care of the most vulnerable people in society. So furthermore, just 3 verses later, we get the direction to eat plants and only plants. So just in case you had any questions about dominion, it did not give us license to take animals and turn them into food. There's 2 creation stories in the Torah, Genesis 1 and Genesis 2. And if you've ever seen the t-shirt or the bumper sticker that says friends, not food, it's directly out of Genesis 2, where it says the animals were created to be companions for Adam. Not as a food source, not even as a labor source, but to be companions for Adam. So still in the book of Genesis, in Genesis 9, we're given permission to eat meat for the first time. But there's so much we can say about Genesis 9, but I'll limit it to this for tonight, which is the divine covenant in Genesis 9 explicitly includes animals, the birds, the cattle, and every wild beast. This is repeated 5 times in Genesis 9, this covenant. It's really supposed to get our attention that the animals and the people both are in a covenantal relationship with God. Animals are even in the 10 Commandments. On Shabbat, according to Exodus, the cattle are supposed to be given a day off too, just like the people. So the question comes up frequently, do animals have souls? In the Jewish understanding, the answer is emphatically yes. As you can see here, everything that has the breath of life, and we know animals have the breath of life, they all praise God. In fact, in the book of Numbers, which is where we are in the Torah right now, there's a story of Balaam and his donkey. It was the donkey, not Balaam the prophet, who saw an angel. A donkey had the spiritual antenna to see an angel. So these laws to treat animals with compassion have a name, and a name is Zar Ba'alei Hayim, the prevention of animal suffering. And this is rooted in several Torah verses, including this one in Exodus. If you see your enemy's donkey struggling with his load, you're supposed to help the donkey. Forget about how much you hate the donkey's odor. The donkey's situation takes precedence. In Zar Ba'alei Hayim is not just about the physical suffering of animals. It's also about their emotional lives, as you can see from these 2 verses in Deuteronomy. These laws are so important that in the book of Proverbs, the test of someone's ethics is how they treat animals, as you can see in Proverbs 12:10. And the one last thing I'll leave you with, animals are so important in the Torah that Moses himself was chosen for leadership. Why? Because he came to the rescue of a lamb. This is in Shemot Rabbah, a midrash about Moses. So we're just scratching the surface, but please fill out the post-event survey and you will receive the source sheet. And of course, you can contact us at any time with your questions. And we'll have room for questions tonight. So with that, I would like to pass the baton to my colleague, Lisa Appelberg.
Thank you, Jeff. And hello, everyone. Jeff, if you'll unshare your screen. I'm going to be focusing on Jewish values, the environment, and our food choices. Jody, are you able to get the slides? Okay, perfect. Just waiting for the slideshow to show up. Thanks for your patience, everyone. So what you will see when the slideshow comes up is you are going to see the Jewish values of Tikkun Olam and Bal Tashit. As many of you know, Tikkun Olam means to repair the world. And this is something that Jewish people are working towards. The Jewish commandment of Bal Tashit means do not destroy. And it is the Jewish environmental precept that mandates us to fix the environmental issues on our planet. I'm asking that you please keep these 2 commandments in mind as I present about Judaism, food, and the environment. Next slide, please. As you can see on the next slide, when it comes, you're going to see that we are, sorry, we tested this, y'all, and it all worked out really well earlier, so really apologize. As you can see on this slide, we are to be stewards of our land. And I want to particularly bring your attention to the line that is bolded. This is a reminder that the world was given to us to care for, not to do with it what we want, and certainly not to destroy it. Judaism places an emphasis on caring for our planet. Next slide, please. In order to understand how it is virtually impossible to honor the 2 commandments I shared previously, we need to understand what some of the issues that are caused by animal agriculture are. The main issue is that an astounding number of animals are slaughtered to become food. In the US alone, 10 billion land animals are killed for food every year. And sadly, this does not take into account that we kill an additional 47 billion aquatic animals per year also. And this isn't even the full picture, unfortunately, because the dairy and egg industry is responsible for the deaths of male animals, since they can't ever make dairy and eggs, but they are not counted in this number because they aren't used to become food. And to share even more, many wild animals like coyotes are killed as well to protect farm animals, since the farm animals are the commodity, and those animal deaths are also not counted in these numbers. So you can see that these numbers are enormous, and that's highly problematic. I also want to note that 99% of meat, dairy, and eggs comes from factory farms. So while many people believe that they are buying items that are different because they're labeled with words like humane or pasture raised, these labels are not regulated, and the vast majority of food, in fact, up to 99%, comes from factory farms. So what are some of the issues caused by these astoundingly high numbers? Next slide, please. Many of us watched in horror when the Amazon rainforest was on fire. The fires were caused by farmers who were cutting down the forest to grow corn and soy to feed cattle. This is an issue for multiple reasons, and I'll share 2 of them here. Deforestation destroys important habitats, which causes precious animals to go extinct, and that is such a sad and horrible loss to us. Secondly, forests act as a carbon sink, which means that the trees in the forest help clean our air and pull the carbon dioxide, which is causing our planet to warm, out of the air. When the forests are destroyed, we've lost these 2 valuable benefits. Next slide, please. In the climate change and environmentalism community, there is a lot of focus on cars and driving when it comes to pointing the finger about global warming. There are many reports, however, that conclude that eating meat is much worse, because in addition to producing carbon dioxide like the cars do, the meat industry is hugely responsible for producing methane. Animals such as cows produce methane when they digest food, and this makes animal agriculture the biggest source of methane emissions in the United States. While methane does not live as long in the Earth's atmosphere as carbon dioxide, it has 86 times more warming potential in the short term. Next slide, please. Feeding the world. Judaism is very focused on social justice issues in addition to the values that I shared previously, and this is important for our community to understand. One of the many issues with creating food in this way is the amount of land needed to feed those 10 billion animals that are then killed for food. The American Midwest, which was formerly forest, prairie, and marsh, is now corn and soy as far as the eyes can see. But sadly, this corn and soy is not going to feed people. It's being used to feed the animals. The problem is that meat production requires much more food than it creates. The study on this slide found that if the food currently grown for animals was used to feed people, we could feed an additional 4 billion people. When people worry about overpopulation, it's not that we have an issue with how many people there are in the world, it's that we are not using our resources or land correctly to be able to feed them. Next slide, please. Water usage and pollution. As you can see from the chart on this slide, to create animal-based foods has an extremely high water footprint because so much water needs to go into every step of the process. This image does not show beans, but I want to mention them because beans are considered a superfood that are packed with protein. Producing equivalent amounts of protein from beans requires just a fraction of the resources needed to make beef, as an example. Ditching meat altogether in favor of plant-based foods reduces an individual's food, water-related footprint by nearly 60%, according to an article in the New York Times. The next image shown here is a devastating one. Many people believe that waste from animals is used to become fertilizer, but due to the astoundingly high number of animals involved, the industry has way too much waste. What happens is the waste sits in large lagoons that often overflow. They poison the air and water nearby. As you can probably guess, the people who are affected by this air and water pollution are people who live in poverty and are often people of color. They don't have the resources to move away. Because of the air and water pollution, they suffer from health and mental health issues at a much higher rate than others in our society. There are many other environmental issues that this industry is responsible for because of how destructive it is, so this was just an overview. Next slide, please. Moving to a plant-based lifestyle and teaching others about it is a great way to help us honor the commandments I spoke about earlier. We know more now than we ever did before about the destructiveness of this industry, and vegan food has come so far and is so much more accessible. Many people worry that they will no longer enjoy eating if they remove their usual favorite food from their plates, and we can make a big impact by cooking for friends or meeting them out to show them how they can still eat deliciously without eating animals. I like to share this picture that includes some of the traditional Jewish foods I used to eat when I was growing up, and to show you that they are all made without animal ingredients. I think that teaching people that they can still enjoy the meals they love and that it isn't that hard to learn to cook using new recipes and with the abundance of items now available, this is the exciting news about helping others move in the plant-based direction. Thank you so much for joining us tonight for Shavuot Vegan 101 program. And Jody is going to teach us about health and nutrition now. And Jody, thank you so much for sharing my slides. I would have done much worse if you weren't doing it.
All right. Hello, everyone. I am very happy to be here to speak on one of my favorite subjects, nutrition, health, and particularly this evening, the connection between Judaism and veganism and health and a plant-based lifestyle, which we know is the optimal route to wellness. And when I learned about the connection between Judaism and veganism, and having learned that a plant-based lifestyle is my path to wellness, it was like that light went off, the light bulb went off, and it shines brighter and brighter as I continue to learn more. And I love to share this with others because they learn as well, and I learn from them. So when I think about nutrition and how what we eat affects our bodies and our soul, I love thinking about what Maimonides said. No disease that can be treated by diet should be treated with any other means. I mean, that was said a long time ago. So we want to be building a solid foundation for wellness. And we know that our plant-powered foods with all the anti-inflammatory nutrients that are in them are our path to wellness. This evening, when we're talking about connecting wellness to our Jewish values, there are two concepts that I want to share with you. The first is pikuach nefesh, the concept that our human life is so vital, so essential, that the obligation to save a life, pikuach nefesh, is something we all must do. We learn in the Mishnah Torah written by Maimonides that pikuach nefesh overrides the commandments of Shabbat. That's how important it is to save a life. The laws of the Sabbath are suspended in the face of a danger to life. We also read in the Shulchan Aruch that all cases of saving a life supersede Shabbat. This duty, pikuach nefesh, to safeguard our health, is also stressed in connection with fasting on Yom Kippur. A sick person is obliged to break the fast in order to take care of their well-being. So when we think about it, pikuach nefesh is very powerful, and quite honestly, it's really very uplifting to believe, to understand that your life is so valuable. We are created in God's image. We are here, all of us, to do good work, whatever that path is, whatever your work is, and being your best makes that possible. In Deuteronomy, we learn to guard yourself and guard your soul very carefully. Biblical commentators have understood this to be the religious imperative of taking care of both your body and your soul. And our tradition calls this mitzvah of health, shmirat haguf. We learn in the Talmud that it is forbidden to dwell in a city which has neither a medical man nor a public bath. It is also forbidden to dwell in a city which has no vegetable garden. Can any of us imagine living in a city that has no vegetable garden? This is how important it is to take care of our body and our soul. As the Jewish philosopher Philo of Alexandria said, the body is the soul's house. Therefore, shouldn't we take care of our house so that it doesn't fall into ruin? And of course, the ways of this Shmirat Haguf are different for everyone. How can you do your best to uphold the mitzvah of Shmirat Haguf? How can you guard yourself and your soul to promote your best self? And I invite you all to share in the chat if you'd like how you go about doing that, or how you may start to go about doing that after tonight's event. So we know, of course, that there are many, many, many studies, I can go on and on, that confirm the power of a vegan lifestyle, that it is optimal for our health and well-being. Even the American Heart Association said, whether you're considering eating less meat or giving it up entirely, the benefits are clear. Less risk of disease and improved health and well-being. So let's all eat plants, right? So I would love to know also in the chat, what is your favorite protein source? I'm sure you are asked, how do you get your protein? I will share mine in a minute, but of course I want to just shout out some of the favorites, right? Tofu, beans, nuts, seeds, quinoa, buckwheat, and of course our greens, right? We get protein from our spinach and our broccoli and our Brussels sprouts and many others. So for me, I carry a package of hemp seeds with me, because if I'm at a cafe or a restaurant somewhere and my only option is a small salad, I just sprinkle my hemp seeds on. And even though there is some protein in my vegetables, I increase the protein content with my hemp seeds. And of course, our calcium sources, right? We're asked, if you don't consume dairy, how are you getting calcium? Many of the same, our broccoli, our kale, even oranges have calcium. And then our mighty seeds, right? Our poppy seeds, pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds, and my favorite, chia seeds. I am actually allergic to sesame, so I cannot get my calcium from sesame, but chia pudding is my go-to. Now, I bet you're never asked, where do you get your fiber? Why? Because animal products don't have fiber, but our powerful plants do. And when we hear new studies coming out now about what's wrong with health and well-being in the US, let's say, we keep hearing about the gut and the microbiome, and that people are not getting enough fiber. We vegans are getting enough fiber. I also just want to mention quickly B12 as something vegans want to think about. The good thing is we can get blood tests, so we know it's not like a problem. It's just something people say, oh, you're vegan, you better check your B12. Well, we can easily check our B12, and many of the vegan doctors that we listen to tell us that because we're eating a variety of plant foods, we're not just eating broccoli, we're not just eating kale. Because we're getting a variety of plant foods, we are really getting the nutrients that we need. And eating a variety of plant foods is fun to do when we experiment with new seasonings, new condiments, and the more we try new recipes, the more food we can enjoy. And with that, I am very honored and excited to introduce my amazing colleague, Liz, who is going to demonstrate a new recipe for all of us.
I had to unmute myself. So, hi, I'm Liz. I like to make recipes. My favorite thing is to create new things that I've never tried before. One of my new favorite concoctions is a vegan cheesecake dip, because while it is so amazing to make vegan cheesecake, it also kind of takes a while. And honestly, I avoided it for a long time because I was very intimidated. So how about we shift it to something not intimidating and we make a cheesecake dip? It only takes 7 minutes. I timed it and I only have 7 minutes, so we have to do it. So I'm going to take off my lid here. I have a food processor. You can also use a blender. And if you don't have either of those, you can use a whisk and a lot of elbow grease. So I'm going to start with a block of firm tofu. Other tofus may work, but silken tofu is going to be too liquidy and it's not going to give us a real solid dip. So I'm going to put my tofu in here. I just drained this. I did not press it. It's kind of falling apart in my hand, but that's what we want. And if you can't have tofu, you can also do cashews or sunflower seeds and soak them in some water ahead of time to make it easier. Now I'm going to put in some agave. You can really use any sweetener that you like. You can even just use soaked dates if you prefer. I'm going to put this in here, and you can use as much or as little as you like. I like to use about 1/4 cup. It's not super sweet, but it's just sweet enough. I'm going to add some lemon juice, bring out all those flavors. I'm going to add a little bit of vanilla extract, which just makes it taste like dessert. Going to add, this is almond butter. Any nut or seed butter will work. Anything you like. This isn't even actually necessary. However, it does make it taste a little bit more rich and gives you the chance to add different flavors to it. So you could do hazelnut butter, maybe with a little bit of cocoa powder. That would be very delicious. You could do peanut butter. You could do Jody can't do tahini, but unfortunately, it is good for those of us who can have it. If you don't want to do a nut or seed butter, you could even do coconut cream, which is the thick part at the top of a can of coconut milk. So lots of options. You could even do coconut oil if you prefer. I would do half the amount. And then I'm going to put in some nutritional yeast. This is optional, but it does kind of give us the cheese flavor that's in cheesecake. Just a small amount. And I'm going to do a pinch of salt just because cheese is salty. So just a tiny bit, brings out the other flavors. And now I'm going to put on the lid, and it's going to be very loud. I'm sorry. I'm gonna stop and might need to scrape down the side of your food processor once or twice. All my almond butter just kind of stuck to the edge, so I'm just pushing that down with my trusty spatula. Blend it one more time really quick. Okay. I'm sorry to say that that's really all there is to it. It tastes better if you throw it in the fridge after this, but honestly, it's pretty good either way. Take that out. You can pair it with graham crackers. These ones happen to be accidentally vegan, or you can be extra and make your own, which is fun but laborious. You can dip in fruit. I like it with strawberries. You can add toppings like cherries, or like if you reduce some fruit on the stove, it'll be like a real cheesecake, although it's still a dip. And you could even take this filling and you can cook it on the stove with a little bit of cornstarch slurry, cornstarch mixed in water, and you can pour it into a pie shell and make it into a cheesecake. That's really good. And that's it. There's so many ways you could customize this. You could put cocoa powder in there. You could put actual chocolate chips. You could put anything you want. So many possibilities. Have fun with it.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Liz. And thank you to all of the Jewish Veg staff for bringing us our Torah of the night. So we know there are questions. I've been seeing in the chat all the discussions that are happening. So let's get to it. Raising your hand. If you don't remember my spiel from the beginning of our time together tonight, if you're on your computer, at the bottom of your Zoom screen, you should see a smiley face that says reactions. If you click it, there's a bar at the bottom of the box that pops up that says raise hand. If you're on a phone or tablet, tap the screen. You should see that smiley face, tap it, and for you, the bar will be at the top of the box that pops up. You're going to use that raise hand function to ask questions, because then I know what order you are raising your hands in. So the floor is open. Please ask us your questions. We want to do some more teaching and learning together. And if nobody raises their hand, I'm going to start asking you questions. All right, Rochelle, go ahead, please.
I figure I had to say something. So I really appreciate this. It's always good to hear, you know, how Judaism and supports veganism, which is, you know, something very important. And I want to thank you for, you know, all of you for what you presented today. And I just, you know, want to share with folks that, you know, I've been plant-based for, you know, over 20 years. I'm not on any medication, you know, talking about what, you know, Jody was talking about. I found a plant-based cardiologist and she supports me. And so there are doctors around that are supporting it, and they, you know, treat things with food. So, you know, there's a lot of support out there, you know, if you look for it. And, you know, recipes are very good, but you can just start simply. You know, you think about breakfast and, you know, you make oatmeal and fruit that's vegan, and, you know, you could, you know, I figure that less processed is better. So you can make stews and things like that. And, you know, and then, you know, add to that. So, you know, I know a lot of times the recipes scare people. So, you know, but don't be scared about that. Look at what you're eating and just substitute something in there, you know, to get going. But, you know, my biggest question is, you know, how do I get my synagogue, everyone in the synagogue, to embrace this? I know, you know, Lisa and Sarah, you're wonderful. You came and you talked to my synagogue, and everybody said they learned a lot. But you know, my frustration is, you know, we want to educate, but we want them to really take this seriously. You know, they go and they change the light bulbs thinking that's going to save the planet, and that's a good thing too. But how do we get across in a simple, nice, easy manner, you know, Lisa's message that, you know, so people will do something, really say that, well, if I eat this meat, you know, the rainforest is being cut down and everything's being grown there, and all the water that we could use, and people aren't getting it. So, you know, we have the Jewish community who, you know, is into Tikkun Olam. They're so much into the environment. You know, Religious Action Committee has chosen that climate justice and change is their, you know, focus for this year. So how can we, you know I don't mean to put you on the spot.
No,
but
no
I
worries.
think,
We love being put on the spot.
Any ideas from everybody of how we can spread the word? You know, this is great what you're doing, but you know, I want to do more. So
Awesome. Thank you.
And I want to thank you so much. And it's so nice to be with you all to celebrate Shavuot together and learn something. So thank you.
Thank you
I'll
so
shut
much.
up now.
No, that's a great question. And it's the question, right? How do we get the Jewish community to be talking about this and taking action on this? Because we all know how important it is. So how can we make sure everybody knows how important it is? That's the work that Jewish Veg is all about. That's what we're here to do. So like Rochelle mentioned, we do come into synagogues, JCCs, communities that are Jewish across the board. And we come in and we teach about this stuff. And we do that as an introduction. So Rochelle, you know, as you mentioned, Lisa and I came and spoke to your synagogue, and that's a touch point, right? That's one time they're going to hear about it, but they're going to hear about it again. They're going to hear about it from you. They're going to hear about it from other people in the community who are making plant-based choices. They're going to hear about it from us coming back. They're going to hear about it from this becoming a movement that all of us here tonight are bringing into our Jewish communities. And it's slow work. We're talking about cultural change. It's not going to change overnight, but it's changing. The fact that there are 52 of you here in this room with us shows us how much it's changing. So I just want to encourage us all, when it feels overwhelming how much the work is, we are making significant progress and change in the work that we're doing. And that is because of what we're able to bring to you and to your communities as a team of people who can teach about this, and as you as individuals showing up in Jewish spaces and bringing all of yourself with you. I do see another hand raised, but I want to just ask if any member of my team wants to say anything about this issue as well.
I was trying to type my answer in the chat, but Rochelle, I was also going to point out, and thank you for inviting us to your synagogue. As you know, I think it does require multiple engagements. And I think it's really important to point out too, that there are partner organizations that we work with that help kitchens and synagogues and churches help their kitchens really switch out their recipes. And they're very, very tangible. It's like, okay, how many eggs did you use last year? How many gallons of milk? And we're going to help you figure out different recipes to help you cut that in half. So there really is that 1-2 step. Like, we're going to teach about the issues, and then if you care about the issues, we have partners that can come in and really help you do it. But it is a matter of people need to hear about this multiple times. Probably majority of people, you know, on this call didn't necessarily hear about it once and change their habits. So we keep teaching about it. And then we also at Jewish Veg recently learned that one of the biggest concerns people have from going in this direction is they don't think they're going to enjoy eating anymore. And I didn't like that was the concern. So that's why I was saying, show them how tasty it can be. Show them that we can still enjoy a lot of the same foods. People erroneously believe that we're asking them to be full and satisfied on a bowl of lettuce. And we all know, majority of us eat way more than a bowl of lettuce, and we eat a lot of diverse.
Oh, I think we lost Lisa. But okay, are you back?
I was done. I was done.
All right, thank you, Lisa. Okay, so I do see Michelle, your hand is raised. Go ahead.
Yes, I have forwarded a link to your organization many times to my Chabad rabbi, because when we have a breaking of the fast or any meal there's all kinds of meat served, and being vegan, it makes it difficult for me. One time I did meet with the rabbi and his wife, and they said that they would make sure I had a vegan meal, but I didn't attend, so I don't know how that would have turned out. However, he's shown no interest in the link, and I wish I could find a way to have him more interested.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's tough. It's really tough. Thank you for sharing, Michelle. I actually want to ask Jody if you want to respond to that as someone who is involved with Chabad in your area.
Sure. Thank you, Sarah. And Michelle, I'm happy to speak to you more about this. I do go to a Chabad, and what I have started to do, I used to just kind of be quiet and go there, pray, and kind of sit quietly while everyone else was eating. And more recently, I've spoken up. When people say, "Oh, are you going to eat? Oh, you don't have anything on your plate." I say, I am vegan. I am not going to eat meat. I choose not to eat dairy. And the more I say that, the more then conversation we have. Even now, the children, the rabbi's children, have started to ask me, of course they do, they're adorable, and they say, "Where do you get your protein?" But they say, "Why don't you eat meat? Why don't you eat dairy?" And so we can have conversation. And now the Rebbitzin has started to make sure that there's always something for me to eat. It's not always a lot, but there's always a soup. So where there's chicken soup, there's also a butternut squash soup or some sort of vegetable soup. So I am finding that by speaking about it, by bringing it up, there's an opportunity for conversation. And I do know there are some people in our community that are going to Chabad. So I'll put my email address in the chat, and I'd love for you to get in touch, and we can speak more. And I'm happy to speak to your Chabad rabbi as well.
Thank you. I have extra issues because wheat and noodles and all of that affects my glucose. So, you know, if they used non-dairy milk or whatever, it would work. But if it's a wheat product, it doesn't work personally, and that's a problem too. And I'm sure that affects a lot of people.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, I'm trying to follow the chat, but Lisa, have I missed any questions in the chat? Okay, I apparently have not. Awesome. I'm great.
No, I'm responding to people, but no questions,
Lisa's
both are
great.
comments.
All right.
Sorry, could you hear me?
Yes, no, you're good. Thank you for responding to people's questions in the chat. All right, so I want to check, do we have one more question, one more brief question? I see Robin, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to see my buds here. What happens I mean, I know Shavuot, but I don't know a lot about it. What happens in the synagogue, or, yeah.
Oh, what happens in the synagogue? All right.
Yeah.
So actually, I'm so glad you brought this up, Robin. It's a great segue, because what happens in the synagogue is you're going to have on Shabbat, most likely, you'll be having a service in which the Torah portion that you read is going to be the Shavuot specific Torah portion instead of what would usually be the Torah portion at this time.
Oh.
The other thing that might happen is that when you do the Torah reading for Shavuot, there's a special prayer that gets added into the liturgy in Ashkenazi services, and it's called Akdamut. And if you are interested in learning about Akdamut and why, as a vegan, it might be a little bit uncomfortable to read, we have a free Shavuot guide that we are going to be sending out to you in your follow-up email to this event. And it's going to talk about, I'm pulling it up, so excuse the what's going on in the background here. So I'm going to show that to you right now because I actually want you to see what we're offering to you in this guide that you'll be receiving in your follow-up. First of all, what we have done tonight is a taste of the kind of learning that you can do on Shavuot. There's a tradition called a Tikkun Leil Shavuot, and it's basically this all-night Torah study session. And if you wanted to bring that to your friends and family and community, we have a 4-hour sample agenda of a Tikkun Leil Shavuot in this guide that's going to teach you exactly how to do that. And you can see it is it's comprehensive. if I do say so myself. It's long. We also have in this guide, going back now to that first page here, we have some other sample activities, and we have that guide to the prayers. Akdamut, this poem, this special prayer and poem talks about this thing that at the end of the days, when the world to come is about to happen, there's going to be this big feast. And the feast is going to be on these giant mythical, magical animals that we're going to eat at that time, which honestly, like, who even knew that there were these giant mythical animals in Torah and Jewish texts anyway? I actually think it's super cool. But this whole thing about, oh, we're going to feast on these animals is this really bizarre, minor little story that you might hear about on Shavuot, and it totally contradicts everything else that's written about how in the world to come, at the end of days, we're going to have a vegan paradise. So check out our Shavuot guide, because it's going to tell you all about that and about this whole idea that we have in Judaism of a vegan paradise. That is the goal and the place that we're meant to go as a people. Jeff shared with you in Genesis 1:29 in the Garden of Eden, we're created vegan. And we know from all of our writing, all of the rabbinic text and thought about the end of days, that's where we end up. So thank you for asking that question, Robin. The other thing you'll find in that guide is 11 vegan Shavuot recipes, including Liz's cheesecake recipe. So with that, we are coming to the end of our time together, but don't go anywhere yet, because we're going to conclude tonight by counting the Omer together. But first, I want to thank everyone for coming here tonight and being a part of our learning and our celebration. I especially want to thank the Jewish Veg staff who did a lot of work on this event tonight to bring all of this to you. And I have the best team in the world, and I'm just so happy to be able to share them with you tonight. Like I said, the Shavuot guide is going to be in your follow-up email, so keep an eye out for that. It is completely free. The survey is also going to be in your follow-up email, and Lisa's going to share that in the chat as well. Like Jeff mentioned, if you fill out that survey, it should take about a minute, you will receive his source sheet on animals in Torah and in Tanakh, the whole Hebrew Bible, and Talmud and Midrash. It's comprehensive. So fill out the survey to receive that source sheet. If you liked tonight's event and you want more of it, come study with us and an Orthodox vegan rabbi on Sunday, June 25th at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. That is going to be our next event. Again, that is June 25th, 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. Mark your calendars. And that's going to be a study session with Rabbi Akiva Gersh. You do not want to miss that. And you will get that link in your follow-up email. And I believe Lisa just put it in the chat. Thank you, Lisa. All right, and finally, as we've mentioned tonight, if you want to bring us into your synagogue, community, Jewish center of any sort and kind, we teach about this all the time. We love teaching about this. Bring us in. We would love to bring this to your community. So with that, I'm going to share my screen. And since we are still in the days between Passover and Shavuot, we are doing what is known as counting the Omer. Omer means a sheaf. So that harvest period, the sheaves of barley that we are collecting and counting the time between exiting Egypt and coming to Mount Sinai and receiving Torah. So it is a special blessing that we say together to count the Omer. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu al sefirat haomer. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who has sanctified us through commandments and commanded us concerning counting the Omer. And then we actually do the count. Hayom shemona v'arba'im yom, shehem shisha shavuot v'shisha yamim la'omer. Today is 48 days, which is 6 weeks and 6 days of the Omer. So we're almost there, folks. We've almost got the Torah. So thank you all so much again for joining us tonight. It's really been a pleasure to share this time with you. And Make sure to come and see us again on June 25th, and an early Chag Sameach. Thanks so much.
Thank you.